Imsa's Roar Before the 24 has been a lot of things in recent years. It's been simply a preseason test. It's also held the Rolex 24 qualifying session that set the grid for the following weekend's race. And there was even a stretch where the weekend hosted a qualifying race, yes, a 100-minute qualifying race that set the Rolex 24 grid. This is everything you need to know about the Roar Before the 24. The Roar Before the 24 has evolved a lot in recent years, but one way that it hasn't evolved is it's always an indicator that the Imsa season is right around the corner. Prior to the 2021 season, the traditional pre-season Roar test took place at Daytona about 3 weeks before the race. It consisted of a number of test sessions for the WeatherTech Championship, the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and at the time, the Imsa Prototype Challenge. Now, having a test a few weeks prior to the Rolex 24 meant that many of the teams were able to come down and test at the track, and then still have time afterwards to pack the car up, drive it back home, and complete any final adjustments that they needed to prior to the season starting. Now, as you might imagine, this was a lot of travel for many teams in the short lead up to the race. That led to Imsa making a change coming out of the COVID-affected 2020 season, as the test would be moved to the weekend before the race, thus reducing the amount of travel for the teams. And at the same time, they hope to create some more buzz in the week leading up to the race with fan-oriented activities planned. The date was not the only thing to change though with the Roar Before the 24. The format changed as well. For the first time, the Roar Before the 24 would play host to a qualifying race, which set the grid for the season opening Rolex 24. Now, at this time, this probably sounded like a pretty good idea. Give the fans some more meaningful racing to watch, and transform this traditional test weekend into a highlight of the week. The result wasn't exactly as planned though. Instead of drivers pushing all out to capture pole, everyone was very cautious as to not wreck the car that they'd be running the following weekend. As a result, the 100-minute qualifying race never really featured the hard racing and excitement that Imsa had hoped for, and as a result, the idea was scrapped after 2 seasons. In place of the 100-minute qualifying race, Imsa would instead host a traditional qualifying session at the end of the Roar weekend. Again, this was to provide some meaningful WeatherTech Championship running on the weekend of the Roar Before the 24. 2025 will see yet another change, as for this season, the qualifying session has now been moved to the Thursday before the Rolex 24. This is more in line with how qualifying has been done in the past, and means that the Roar Before the 24 weekend will now be exclusively a test weekend, at least for the WeatherTech Championship cars. Now, while the Roar Before the 24 weekend may not feature qualifying anymore, there are still many things to keep an eye out for. Of course, there's going to be testing, and plenty of it. The Michelin Pilot Challenge will be out on track for 5 sessions on the weekend, while the WeatherTech Championship will see 7 test sessions in total. And these test sessions for the WeatherTech Championship are very important. During them, Imsa will be conducting targeted performance testing for the GTD Pro cars aimed at testing and adjusting the balance of performance. This testing will take place during one of the afternoon sessions on both Saturday and Sunday, and will be mandatory for all teams looking to participate in GTD Pro. During these tests, a nominated gold or platinum driver will complete a specified run plan for Imsa, aimed at helping them finalize the BOP for the Rolex 24. And despite it being a lot of test sessions for the WeatherTech Championship and the Michelin Pilot Challenge, there are still some races going on. In fact, we'll see a couple of races for the VP Sports Car Challenge. The 2 races on the weekend will not only represent their season kicking off, but also the debut of the new GTD X class to the series. This GTD X class will feature GT3 spec cars that were eligible to run in Imsa's GTD class from last season. And the new class will be joining the existing LMP3 and GSX classes for their 2 45-minute sprint races on the weekend. Unfortunately, none of the test sessions are scheduled to be streamed or broadcast anywhere, so if you're looking to follow along with the results, you'll have to do so on the live timing page or just looking at the result sheets after the session is completed. But we are going to have those 2 VP Sports Car Challenge races broadcast. You can catch those races on Saturday, January 18th at 1:55 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Sunday, January January 19th at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Both of those races will be broadcast on Imsa TV, Peacock, and on Imsa's YouTube channel. The Roar Before the 24 is the first sign that the Imsa season is upon us, and with the start of the season, there's plenty to get caught up on. You can check out this playlist to get caught up on all the biggest news from around the world of Imsa. Huge shout out to all the channel supporters. If you too want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/offintheesses or click that join button below. Once again though, thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great race weekend and doesn't go off in the S's.